Welcome to The Know. I'm Ashley Jenkins.
I'm Mica Burton.
Was 2016 the year of the indie game?
Dunno. Last year saw the video game industry continue its growth as a multi-billion-dollar juggernaut, but it was the little games that made the biggest splash.
Overall, the gaming industry grew by 18% last year to a whopping $91 billion, according to research from Superdata. That's a lot of Pokemon Go.
It's a lot of Pokemon Go. But indie games made a big statement in 2016 as new hits like Stardew Valley, yay, joined with classics like Rocket League and Gary's Mod to outsell much bigger games on Steam.
That is all, of course, according to Steam Spy, which released its annual analysis of which games sold the most and made the most money on Steam. It's important to note, before we get into it any further, that these numbers are gathered using statistical analysis, so they're not 100% accurate. There is a margin of error. It's a small margin, but there is a margin. But since Steam doesn't release sales data, this is the best we got.
So, of the top 5 games that Steam Spy ranked according to new owners, 3 of them were indies: Rocket League, Gary's Mod, and Stardew Valley.
Yay.
Together, they combined for nearly 6.9 million new owners. That's a lot of millions. Also rounding off the top 25 were indie hits Undertale, Rust, Terraria, and The Forest.
On top of all that, Stardew Valley pulled in more than $24 million in 2016, which beat out bigger names like Deus Ex Mankind Divided, Dishonored 2, Mafia 3, and Call of Duty Infinite Warfare.
What?
Though that's really impressive. It's also worth noting that Stardew Valley was made by one guy who I hope is taking Scrooge McDuck baths in gold coins right now. I mean, in between
deserves it.
adding new stuff to the game.
And people are playing indie games for longer periods of time on Steam, so the recent winter sale showed an all-time high playtime for games with the indie tag.
The top games, though, were still major studio creations. Counter-Strike Global Offensive had more than 6.7 million new owners, and the game that raked in the most cash in 2016, according to Steam Spy, was Civilization 6, with nearly $79 million in revenue, followed by GTA 5 with $73.6 million. And remember, that game is a couple years old now.
But which was the hottest genre in 2016? Well, there was a lot of variety, but last year was the year of strategy games, according to Steam Spy's creator, Sergey Galyonkin.
The trend was driven by indies like Stardew Valley, RimWorld Factorio, Planet Coaster, along with established hits like Civ 6, XCOM 2, Stellaris, Total War Warhammer, and others of that nature.
It's also worth noting that there are so many damn games out there.
So many!
Holy shit! More and more games are being released every month, with an incredible 588 new games being released just in December. For the year, there were 5,245 new games released on Steam, the biggest year ever, and a huge increase from more than 3,000 in 2015.
I mean, look, for all we know, there are like 10 Stardew Valleys currently buried under the rubble in Steam that we'll never know about. That's the downside.
That's so sad.
Overall, about 370 million games got new owners in 2016, which kind of a weird stat that makes games sound like Rescue Dogs, The Shelter, I guess. Now I'm just picturing like Sarah McLachlan singing while No Man's Sky looks sadly out of a cage.
If you donate just $1 a month, you too can save No Man's Sky.
Save a starving developer.
In a possible sign that we've hit a saturation point, though, overall sales and revenue from paid titles was about the same as last year. Steam's total revenue in 2016 was $3.5 billion, roughly the same as last year, according to Steam Spy. It's important to note, though, that Steam Spy's numbers doesn't include free-to-play microtransactions.
So basically where all the money is. Galyonkin said that the stagnation could be due to slower growth for Steam in the US and Western Europe. While Steam is expanding its audience in China and other Asian countries, the purchasing power of gamers there cannot match that of gamers from richer countries, he wrote.
As for Steam's own numbers, the company famously doesn't release exact figures, but instead ranks games into tiers of bestsellers.
According to Steam, its top games, as measured by gross revenue, were Dota 2, No Man's Sky, Witcher 3, Dark Souls 3, Civ 6, XCOM 2, Counter-Strike Global Offensive, The Division, Fallout 4, GTA 5, Total War Warhammer, and Rocket League. And they made up the platinum tier of the highest grossing games, but that's about as specific as Steam would get.
Overall, the PC market last year was about $35.8 billion, according to Superdata, which means that Steam controls at least 10% of the PC market. The overall PC market is driven by free-to-play online games, Superdata said, and the biggest revenue earner in that category was, surprise, surprise, League of Legends, which made $1.7 billion.
All for itself, for one game that has also been out for years and years and years. But for all its riches in 2016, PC was still eclipsed by the 800-pound gorilla of gaming, Mobile. Consumers spent a whopping $41 billion on mobile games last year. $41 billion!
My God!
Apple itself paid out $20 billion to developers in 2016, which was a 40% increase from the year before that. So, yeah, while PC is big, those little tiny, generally shitty with a few exceptions mobile games are so much bigger.
It's those microtransactions.
It hurts a little bit if you think about it.
They get ya. Consoles accounted for $6.6 billion in 2016, and virtual reality games were $2.7 billion. Superdata said that VR's higher price point and a lack of games contributed to a sobering first year, and the researcher expects companies like Sony and HTC Vive to take the lead in VR in 2017.
So are they apologizing for all those adjustments downward, I guess? Meanwhile, esports garnered a relatively small $892 million in revenue last year, but still getting a lot of attention from publishers, TV executives, and advertisers. Major publishers like Activision, Riot Games, and EA are exploring new revenue streams like selling media rights, which is giving esports continued momentum, Superdata said.
So, what were your favorite games of 2016?
What's your favorite genre?
What's your favorite mobile game? Yeah, let us know in the comments.
And for all your info on PC, mobile, console, and pretty much all the other kinds of games, be sure to like this video and subscribe to The Know. Video games.
I mean, so mobile games, it's all the microtransactions though, right?
It's all the microtransactions. Well, see, that's why Nintendo investors were so upset about Super Mario Run, because the max anyone can spend is $10.
Right. I mean, if you look at how much I spent on Love Live School Idol Festival, it's like $200, $300.